Kashmir is a part of India. Kashmiri, you are an Indian citizen, you have an Indian passport, you follow the Indian constitution, you get the protection under Indian laws, right? And I think with everything that's happened to support, Pakistan in this instance, and it's not, look, I know Indians who support New Zealand. I know Indians who like Australian, their team is Australia. And if India and Australia play, they actually root for Australia. But that's purely uh, on a game basis. They just like the team and the players. There's nothing more to it, right? But I think with the Kashmir support of Pakistan, it is all political. And it's not that they support Pakistan winning, it was that they were rejoicing an Indian defeat, which is not pleasant. I think it's a wake-up call for government in that state and the central government, that whatever they have been doing in Kashmir has not worked.
Hello, namaste, good evening, and welcome to Citti Media. My name is Citti, and I'll be your host for today's current affairs show. Joining us today is Preity Üpala ji. Preity ji, namaste, how are you? And it's good to
Namaste,
have you back.
Namaste, Sharon ji. Thank you so much for inviting me on your wonderful program. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
It's a pleasure to have you here too. And we will be discussing more about cricket in today's show, but with a context of geopolitics being there. Now, if politics were to be a sport, it would probably overtake the World Cup, as we've seen with the politics that followed India-Pakistan series. But let me come to my first question. Cricket has emerged as India's one of India's strongest soft powers. And how do you see this journey evolving over the years?
Great question. Thank you again for having me. Yes, we have seen a huge evolution from the 70s, where, to be honest, we were really nascent. Our cricketing powers were at the very, very beginning stage. No one really took us seriously. Nobody wanted to tour India back in the day. And then after the 83 World Cup, and then subsequently after the 27 T20 World Cup, I think that was when the real winning era emerged. And I think that we have several milestones in Indian cricket which have helped that. I mean, this incredible soft power that India enjoys, and people have to realize that cricket is the second largest sport in the world in terms of popularity, viewership, and economic financial terms. And 80% of the revenue from cricket internationally comes from one country alone, which is India. The other 20% comes, you could break it down, 10% actually comes from the diaspora, people like myself here in America and the rest of the world. And then the other 10% would be, the other cricket loving nations. And then the smallest percent is, England, Australia, New Zealand, because of their tiny populations. So, and the TV rights, merchandise, sponsorships, all of that stuff, we really are, our board and the game itself, the league, the IPL, of course, these we're talking billions of dollars, and they make us, extremely powerful. It's a great thing, I think. And it coincides with India's rise as a superpower, the economy, the Indian market, entrepreneurship in India, and so on. So I view this as a geopolitical analyst. I view this great dominance and rise of Indian cricket. I think it's amazing for the country. It only adds to India's rise already. It's all very parallel. They are linked. And now, anyway, the BCCI, the way it's structured, is closely kind of in parallel. It operates with the GOI and all that. So it is great in many ways. It has come with, as all good things, it's the roses, my bouquet of roses with a lot of thorns. And I think the thorns are actually, the more dominant India gets, the more powerful India gets, these thorns get louder. And we're seeing it we initially only saw it maybe from subcontinent countries and our rivals, and now it's from the other boards, mainly Australia and England. I think it's our greatest
Right.
adversaries in some way. But I think cricket soft power is very genuine and real, and I think it's a great thing for India.
Right. You bring up a very interesting point, Preeti ji. And with the introduction of Indian Premier League, the IPL, cricket changed forever, even in terms of speaking about finances or in terms of soft power within and outside of India. So, A, how do you differentiate the soft power that the Indian national cricket team emanates to the world as opposed to the IPL? And how do you think IPL has added a value to the overall pre-existing soft power?
Great. So even before the IPL, I think India was, because again, economy, market, and also I think India was winning. Several years before 2007, India was, starting to get very, very dominant. And so we were already sort of a formidable power. We had those, these are the eras of Sachin Tendulkar, and we had all these Rahul Dravid, Saurav Ganguly, all these incredible players. So that was organically rising anyway. But the IPL, I think, as you mentioned, it changed the face of international cricket forever. For the first time, not just Indian cricketers, but even a lot of international cricketers, for the first time ever, they were becoming rich and famous because of this little Indian Premier League. And now every cricketer worth his salt would literally kill to play in the Indian Premier League, which is amazing. And we have seen just yesterday, two new franchises have been, there was a live auction bid
Yes.
that took place, and the Goenka group, that the RPS Goenka group that bought the Lucknow franchise, it bought it for almost 1 billion US dollars. That's probably killing all records for buying out sporting franchises. Certainly not just in cricket, but most other sports.
Right.
And then the other one went for a little bit less, but not that much less. And that was with the CVC private equity firm out of Luxembourg, right? So, I mean, $1 billion. So this is incredible that much of interest is being shown for, the IPL. I do want to point out that the IPL is a domestic Indian tournament. It is not as against contrary to popular belief. It's not some international event or international tournament. It's very much an Indian domestic tournament where we have international players that are a part of these teams that represent Indian cities. And it predominantly was built to encourage and help grow and nurture young domestic Indian players. That's what it always was.
Right.
That's what it always will be. And today, I think the 2021 season that we saw, the winners, all the players that performed, the winners of the orange cap, person who made the most runs, person who took the most wickets, they're all young Indian talent, domestic. And I think it showed that really it's the young Indian players. That's where the future of cricket globally is. It's not these fast bowlers from Australia or New Zealand like it used to be for a long time, even within the IPL. And I think
Right.
it's good for Indian cricket. Your question, a lot of the national team, almost all of the ODI and T20 players in the Indian national team play in the IPL. So their stardom and their brand value is, they're as popular when India plays England, for example, and then you have the IPL, and they're often playing against the same players. So because it's such a tight, small club anyway, they're certainly I guess, brand value of the national team and the IPL are very much, they're interlinked, I would say. It's not like the IPL has so much more, importance and interest. I will say that,
Right.
there's a lot of expectation on. I think what you see a lot of international players that some of them perform much better in their IPL teams than they do in their national side. So the criticism will come more for the foreign players, I think, not so much the Indian domestic players.
Very interesting. Now, since we are here to talk about geopolitics too, I think one of the biggest arm of international cricketing is the controversy that emerges from Pakistan, because Pakistan, as we all know, has been the hub of Islamic terrorism, because of which international matches had to be forfeited. And one of the recent examples is the England and New Zealand team pulling out. Now, Pakistan claims that it is safe for them, but in reality, how does geopolitics actually play an important role in sporting?
Great question. And yes, this has become really a war of narratives, I would say. Obviously, the New Zealand board and the New Zealand government and the English, the ECB and the UK government as well, they took it's a pretty decisive, strong step to withdraw. It's a big thing to withdraw. It's a financial loss to them. But they claim that they had very credible intelligence reports that suggested that it's not safe. I will say that there have been some success. There have been series played in Pakistan up until this year that were fairly safe. There was a lot of security around the players, but I think what's happened after the events of August the 15th with the Taliban takeover of the Afghan government, that whole region is very dangerous. It's always been a bit volatile, but I think now more than ever, it's just not a safe place. You have to. I don't think intelligence agencies make things up for the fun of it. These are very serious reports, highly classified, right? I mean, if that's really what happened, you'd have to take them very, very seriously. And there has been a history of attacks on the Sri Lankan team, on actually the New Zealand team.
Yes.
Ironically, not that, I mean, several years ago, which that was pretty ghastly experience for them. They took a stand, and now I think Australia will do the same. And suddenly you see all these countries kind of isolating Pakistan. And I don't think India had anything to do with it. I think we are really out of it. This is between these countries making a decision that their lives of their players was more important than a game of cricket, which in
Right.
reality, it is true. So what we're seeing how geopolitics plays is, I think eventually things catch up with you, your karma catches up with you. You can only sort of fool so many people for so long. I don't think it can go on forever. And I think maybe what has happened in Afghanistan, this is kind of like the final nail, where I don't think countries, I think they're just looking at Pakistan very differently. And I suspect that nobody will be playing in Pakistan for a very, very long time to come.
Right.
It hurts them financially. It's a loss of hundreds of millions of dollars,
Right.
and it affects their quality, their board, and all of that. So I think they have to make some important decisions. If they want cricket, they know what to do.
Preity ji, I'm really glad you bring that up. But there was a comment by Ramiz Raja very recently he made in Pakistan, and that sort of piqued my curiosity, because yes, India sort of distances itself away from what is happening in Pakistan, and obviously we've had this very unpleasant history between the two countries. But in that sense, because of the indisputable power, financial power, economical power that the BCCI today holds over different countries in terms of its sporting revenues, Ramiz Raja pointed out that India has a lot to do to indirectly support Pakistani cricket. How do you see this statement, and could you give us a little more insight into this?
Great point. He's actually right. I have to say he's factually correct. So about, I think it's 80 or 90% of the revenues for the ICC, which is the International Council for Cricket, the governing body of cricket around the world, they get 80 or 90% of their operating revenues from the BCCI.
Right.
From the Indian market, let's say. So, and then 50% for the PCB, which is the Pakistan Cricket Board, 50% of their operating costs come from the ICC. So in this way, India is, I guess, through the ICC, is helping keep the PCB alive. So ironically, even if you don't have these bilateral series with each other,
Right.
monies from the Indian market and from the BCCI as well do go through the ICC to the PCB. So he's absolutely right. I think his context was a little different. He was saying that we are so powerful that we dictate politics. I don't agree with that aspect of it. I do say
Mhm.
that, yes, financially we have that might. I think if we really dictated politics within, cricket globally, I don't think they'd even be playing, quite frankly, because we have that much of might to, they have, look, South Africa was banned for 20 years for discrimination, racism, and apartheid, right? So there is a precedence for doing this. And if we wanted to go down that route, there is a pathway for
Right.
that. It's been done, and I mean, you put a good appealing case together, it can happen. But it actually chose to be very magnanimous, I think. And although the BCCI has taken a stand that there will be no bilateral series between the two countries, in light of all the terrorist activities, the attacks, and and this happened in 2013, so it's been almost a decade, and they haven't shifted from that. There has been zero uh, uh, competition between the two countries, other than ICC events, World Cup events in neutral venues. So there are conditions. Those are far and few in between. I think the last time we played Pakistan was more than 4 years ago.
Right.
So this is a rare thing. When it happens, it's a big deal. It's the mother of all matches, as we say, and it is actually good for the game. I will say that.
Right.
Um, yeah. So it's an interest. I think BCCI has been pretty responsible with its incredible power. So countries and boards, and quite frankly, just analysts who want to take a dig at BCCI for having too much power, I think they need a reality check, because I think the
Right.
BCCI very tempered with their approach so far.
Thank you so much for your observations, Preeti ji. But let's move on to talk about what's happening at the moment. The World Cup 2021. Obviously, you must have seen the match, and many of us were indeed heartbroken because of India's performance. But at the end of the day, it's a game. But what we were all shocked and devastated was with the reaction in Kashmir, with some of the communities coming out to celebrate Pakistan's victory. Is this the first time that this is happening, and what's the way forward?
Yeah, that is a good point. Firstly, I have to say, um, I know a lot of us were heartbroken, but at least myself on air, I had made the prediction that they would actually win, because they're looking a strong team. And when I looked at the playing 11 for our uh, side, I knew that we were not going to make it. The selection was all wrong, and we really they beat us fair and square. So I do give them the victory. It was a great, very decisive win. But it is very sad and shocking, because Kashmir is a part of India. Kashmiri, you are an Indian citizen, you have an Indian passport, you follow the Indian constitution, you get the protection under Indian laws, right? And I think with everything that's happened, to support, Pakistan in this instance, and it's not, look, I know Indians who support New Zealand. I know Indians who like Australian, their team is Australia, and if India and Australia play, they actually root for Australia. But that's purely uh, on a game basis. They just like the team and the players. There's nothing more to it, right? But I think with the
Right.
Kashmir support of Pakistan, it is all political, and it's not that they support Pakistan winning. It was that they were rejoicing an Indian defeat, which is not pleasant. I think it's a wake-up call for government in that state and the central government, that whatever they have been doing in Kashmir has not worked.
Right.
Your great plan to win hearts and minds has not worked. You have not won hearts and minds, or else this wouldn't have happened. And the government has had lots of schemes. There's been a lot of progress. Many youth have become quite pro-India, I will say. But when these instances happen, it's not nice. And I think we really need to go back to the drawing board and figure out what we can do. It's funny. These, like a match like this, both India and Pakistan will say, that rivalry is in there, that tense drama. We used to be so passionate playing with each other. It now is just a game. It's actually not true, because when this game happens, all hell breaks loose, as you've seen on social media, and you see all the underbelly of the tensions between the countries. I think a lot of a lot of hate comes out on all sides, but it's like these people are out there and they're showing their true colors and telling the world, this is what we feel about this country and this team. And so for anybody who thought that we don't care about playing Pakistan anymore, it doesn't mean anything to us, they're wrong. I think it's more
Right.
more volatile and inflamed than ever before.
No, even with Mohammed Shami's controversy, I'll be very honest with you, Preeti ji. I did not come across any of those comments or posts that some sections of the media seem to be amplifying. And in fact, even whether it was with World Cup 2019, you saw Mohammed Shami play a very crucial role for India. And I think every Indian wholeheartedly supports every cricket player, regardless of what their religion or race is. Don't you think?
Yeah, so I have to say, as somebody who monitors social media carefully, there were those abusive tweets. It's not fabricated. There was abusing. So trolling is one thing. You should troll them. In fact, they deserve to be trolled. And look, why did we lose this match? It's not because of Mohammad Shami. It's because of very poor captaincy and a openers who didn't perform at all, and a middle order collapse. And that is the real reason. The bowlers come in at the end to do their job. They have this very low score that they have to defend. It's not their, you're asking them to pull a rabbit out of a hat. And honestly, they kind of came close, even though 0 wickets were lost. It was like ball for ball. So I mean, a ball, it could have kind of gone down to the wire in that sense. But so there was genuine, beyond trolling, there was some abuse, specifically at him. And I think there are sections that are coloring that abuse and trying to make it communal. I don't think it was communal. I just think that they were angry that he was so expensive. And it's okay to get
Right.
angry. It's even okay to make memes and all of that, but don't attack him or his family. And then, because now there are sections who have, they have like twisted it and given it a communal flavor. I will say that uh, other players like Jadeja, Suresh Raina had also been trolled in the past for other tweets that they, have put out. And the people who are so upset about this incident were not upset then. So I think what I don't like is the hypocrisy. You should be against all abuse. It doesn't matter which player, doesn't matter. They're all Indian citizens. So don't say you're outraged by abuse towards one player and not outraged by abuse towards another. Then you're showing your communal flavors. So I think that is the heart of the
Right.
issue. He should not be, he's not the reason why we lost, and he's an incredible bowler. We are lucky to have him. And he is, I've we've had so many different players come and go, but this person, along with Mohammad Siraj, I mean, these are extremely patriotic players, and you can see that. So it's hurtful, I think, that this sort of stuff happens.
Yes, I concur with you. And in other news, we've all been witnessing what's happening in Afghanistan, and there's a regime change now. The Taliban has taken, and they did seem to have a very hostile reaction to cricket being allowed as a sport in Afghanistan and outside. But it was actually surprising for us to see the Afghan national cricket team play with their old, Afghan flag. What has been the Taliban's reaction? Do we know anything? And then how do you see this playing out?
Yes. So I'm so thrilled that Afghanistan was not banned for this World Cup. I think that the Afghan cricket team, just like the Afghan citizen, is a victim of a illegitimate terrorist takeover of their government. They didn't elect this government. They had elected the Ashraf Ghani government. So they are victims. I don't hold them accountable. The people shouldn't be punished. I think cricket, Afghanistan should not be punished. So whoever took that decision, because there was some talk that should we ban it because of what the Taliban has been saying about women's cricket and sports, and that even the IPL and just sports in general is blasphemous, and not halal. But whoever, I guess ICC made that point that they deserve to play, and they are playing. They're a very exciting team. I wish them the very best, and I think when they play Pakistan, that'll really be another one hell of a match. And I actually hope that they win. I think it'll be poetic justice in many ways. It was great, I think, and you can see some of the players, their captain and some of their top bowlers just break down, because they know that it was a little bit of respite, I think, with everything that they've gone through in the last few years, I would say, but especially few months, to have their national anthem and their flag, and they're there playing in their jerseys, and they won this incredible game against Scotland. I think it was brilliant to see them. I think moving forward, maybe the ICC may have to make a decision. I don't know what that decision will be. I don't know when, but I don't think Afghanistan should be banned, because if you're willing to ban Afghanistan, then I'm sorry, but there's another country that could be banned for worse, for supporting that sort of regime. So I think the ICC is going to have to be very careful with what they do and how they word it, because there will be a lot of criticism coming from not just India, maybe other areas too, that if you're going to do that, then you should do something else too, because now
Right.
you have to be equal treatment for all countries, right? But I think it was great that Afghanistan is there, and India will play Afghanistan at some point, and I think that'll be an incredible game as well.
Yes, in fact, I think even during World Cup 2019, it was a nail-biting finish
Yes.
that they had, and I think that was when Mohammad Shami took a hat trick, I think, in the last
Yes.
over.
Yes.
Right. Let's see how it goes, and hopefully you can join us again to discuss what happens in the World Cup. Thank you so much, Preity ji, for taking out your time and joining us to discuss cricket and geopolitics. It's such an interesting subject, and I hope you can join us again.
Thank you, Sharanji, and thank you for your wonderful audience. And guys, just know that it's a part of our soft power. Support it. Nothing is perfect in the world, but it's genuinely something that we dominate, I think, globally. And there's so much power in cricket. It's a diplomatic tool. It's a tool that we can use to leverage against our neighborhood specifically, and it only makes us stronger. So please support our cricketers, show them a lot of love and respect. And may India win. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Dhanyavad, Namaste.
Namaste, Preity ji. Thank you. Have a good day.
Please remember to subscribe to us and switch on the notifications for this channel. For our other social media links, more content, and to support our work, please visit citti.net. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.